President Trump declaring that America is open for business after announcing the first of what he says are many trade deals resulting from his Liberation Day tariffs. The president posting this graphic to Truth Social indicating that his new trade deal with the United Kingdom will bring in $6 billion of revenue, keep a 10% tariffs on imports from the country, and create $5 billion in new export opportunities.
This announcement comes as U.S. and Chinese officials announced they would be meeting in Switzerland this weekend to the focus to discuss, of course, lowering the 145% sky-high tariffs. The Chinese were quick to point out that it was the U.S. delegation who asked for the meeting. And here's what else. A report from Axios outlines that economic leaders from around the globe are concerned Trump's tariffs could sink Republicans' chance for the midterms. Axios quoted one investor saying politicians can handle bad headlines and even bad markets for a while, but there will be hell to pay if photos of empty Walmart shelves go viral. The only thing more powerful than loyalty to Trump is wanting to get reelected. Ain't that the truth?
Yeah, so big UK tariff deal coming out. Some of the details of it are interesting. So there is still that 10% baseline tariff, but it looks like they've negotiated on certain industries. So they're going to have a reduction on the tariff rate on U.S. ethanol from 18 to 19%, now coming down to 0. They also have the overall average tariff rate for all UK products that we sell to the UK down to 1.8%, which is where they get that $5 billion in new export opportunities, and then a little bit of rejiggering of the auto tariff as well. It was 25% for UK produced cars. That's coming down, and then they are also reducing the rate on airplane parts in exchange for lower tariffs on the export of Boeing jets and other airplanes to the UK. So a lot of moving parts here.
Yeah, and I love the way you listed it out so folks can get perspective on it. But I know some people might be saying the art of the deal. I think it's the art of distraction. Who was talking about Great Britain? Who was talking about the UK? We've been talking about China. Get us something with China, because we know that that's where Americans are really feeling it. And so, yes, Trump can praise this and he can say we're doing this big thing. But the reality is that Americans are looking at Chinese goods coming in and feeling it. Small businesses are feeling it. The stock market has felt it. We've seen that. We've seen the roiling of just American families feeling uncertain because we don't know the back and forth how this is going to end up. So even those who have retired are looking at their retirement accounts and saying, oh my goodness, what's going on? Can we get some calm? So while I think that, yes, Trump, you may have gotten something here, that's not really what Americans are looking for. They're looking for negotiations happening, and he has called himself a negotiator, right? Look, he did reality TV. We know that story. So people are expecting him to be this master negotiator and to get China to bend. And so we'll see what those talks, if those talks even yield anything in the next coming days or weeks with China. But the reality is that no one was talking about Great Britain. Nobody was talking about that as much.
There is this interesting disconnect where China claims that the U.S. was begging for the meeting and the U.S. claims it's the other way around, that China was begging for it. There have been some initial indicators that this was very damaging to the Chinese economy, as well as the uncertainty with prices in the U.S. China's April economic numbers were down quite significantly, their growth numbers from previous months. American manufacturers say that they've been receiving a lot of orders for component parts and goods in lieu of China providing those. So I do think China is feeling the pressure, which obviously gives the U.S. a good leverage heading into these negotiations this weekend.
So I tend to disagree. I think that China is playing the game. China knows that if you are going to disrupt the supply chain and you're going to ask American businesses to find different products that they've been using, Chinese products for years, that it can take years sometimes to find those replacements. And I think that they know that. They also are very resourceful. They have better technology than we do. I think that there's so many things that China understands they have the higher end, the upper hand on. And I actually think that they're just playing this game. That they want Trump to feel that he messed up and that they're going to make him beg a bit for him to come back. And so that's why I think this is all a distraction. I think this is a distraction. He wants Americans to feel more security. But right now, I think that Americans feel so much, this has stoked so much fear because we don't have the belief that you're going to be able to really bring back these tariffs, what you're dealing with China.
I will give you concede a point to a bit in that I think Trump made a mistake with his comments about the dolls and the number of toys that children can own or should have access to in the U.S. I think the more important part of the Chinese tariffs is on those goods that impact national security, things like chips, steel, things like energy, where China has its fingers in all kinds of pies throughout the world, pharmaceuticals, personal protective equipment, things that we saw the supply chain get cut off on during the pandemic. So if he's able to negotiate deals on those issues and potentially reshore some of those industries, I don't think Americans are as bothered about the cheap goods that are not necessarily necessities or related to national security. But they do want to see us repatriate and reshore those items that we need to be able to develop at home quickly and efficiently and cheaply in order to defend ourselves, protect ourselves in the case of some worldwide catastrophe.
Right, and I think that's true. And then I also think about how women are often the ones who are buying most of the products for their households. They're buying makeup, they're buying all kinds of items. Teenagers now have access to cards. All of this consumption that's happening, and so many goods are coming from China. For those small things like, lash glue and things that people are using all the time. So I agree, there are some higher end items that are going to be important related to national security and those kinds of things, and maybe even technology and computers that are going to cost Americans. But I also think others are going to be feeling it. What else this has done is I think that when you look at not just the tariffs, but what Americans are feeling about the economy in general, domestic travel is down. Those who are coming into the United States, international travelers coming to the United States, wanting to be here, wanting to spend their money here, that's down. People are not having as much faith and optimism when they think about the brand of America. And I think that's been dismissed in this whole conversation, is that people used to look to America because there was so much access. There was the ability to really come to America and know that you were going to enjoy so many parks, right? Then we had the parks, and we had staffers who were no longer working at the parks. There's so many avenues, not just the tariffs I'm talking about, but just the economy in general, where people are not feeling good about America as a brand, and coming to this country and feeling like this is the America that we knew 4 years ago or 5 years ago. Yes, I'll be able to access this park. Yes, I'll be able to travel. Yes, I'll know what things cost. We don't know what things are going to cost in a month.
Yeah, I think there's probably a disparate impact of the tariffs on different groups, though, and just specifically different working and consumer groups. Your point about women is well taken. I think, on the flip side of that, you have a lot of people who work in manufacturing and the unions themselves, like the UAW, coming out in support of a lot of these tariffs because they have seen the disastrous impacts of exporting a lot of our manufacturing processes to other countries. And I do think it's important that the American economy is an economy for all people, right? Not just people who live in the Acela corridor or in LA and work in technology or the service industry, and making sure that there are good jobs, high wage jobs with good benefits for people who don't go to college or don't feel like they need to go to college, people who just have a high school education, who have for a long time developed these skills of working with their hands. And that doesn't mean putting them on a factory line to build Barbies, right? But it does mean, for example, in Mississippi, this is a huge shipbuilding industry. They do a lot of car, auto manufacturing, tires, things like that. So spreading out that ability for people all across the country to have meaningful employment, I think is really important, and really the underlying principle of why Trump is making this move.
And that takes time.
Of course, it does take time, absolutely. All right, still ahead, the pariahs of the civil service. That's how police across the country are describing their job, and it's having deadly consequences. We'll talk about it coming up.